Cynicism, philosophical roots and key concepts. Cynicism is a philosophical tradition that originated in ancient Greece, advocating for a life of virtue lived in accordance with nature and rejecting conventional social norms, materialism, and artificial desires. The philosophy is often associated with its founder, Antisthenes, a disciple of Socrates, and its most famous practitioner, Diogenes of Sinope. Cynicism's provocative and ascetic teachings challenge societal conventions and emphasize personal freedom through simplicity. 1. Socratic influence. Cynicism is deeply rooted in the teachings of Socrates, particularly his focus on virtue, arete, as the sole source of true happiness. Socrates' commitment to living a virtuous life, his disdain for material wealth, and his emphasis on self-sufficiency inspired the Cynics. Quote, "Wealth does not bring goodness, but goodness brings wealth and every other blessing, both to the individual and the state," Socrates in Plato's Apology. Example, Antisthenes adopted Socrates' focus on virtue but took it to an extreme, rejecting all societal conventions, including organized politics, wealth, and social status. 2. Natural philosophy. Cynicism draws on the pre-Socratic idea of living in harmony with nature, rejecting artificial constructs that distance humanity from its natural state. Quote, "Follow nature and disregard the opinions of men," Diogenes Laertius, Lives of Eminent Philosophers, vi. 23. 3. Diogenes of Sinope. Diogenes epitomized Cynicism's radical critique of society. Known for his ascetic lifestyle, he lived in a barrel, carried few possessions, and famously mocked societal pretensions. Example, when Alexander the Great offered to grant him a wish, Diogenes replied, "Stand out of my sunlight," Diogenes Laertius, vi. 38. Cynics advocated for a life aligned with nature, free from societal constraints, artificial desires, and materialism. They believed that true happiness comes from fulfilling basic needs rather than pursuing wealth or status. Quote, "Man is made by nature for virtue, and this he ought to practice, contented with simplicity," Diogenes Laertius, vi. 104. Example, Diogenes lived without luxuries, carrying a simple bowl for eating and drinking until he discarded it, realizing he could drink directly from his hands. Relevance. This principle encourages minimalism, and challenges modern consumerism, promoting sustainable living and self-sufficiency. Cynics believed that virtue, defined as self-discipline and freedom from desires, is the sole pathway to happiness. External goods such as wealth, power, and fame were seen as distractions. Quote, "The foundation of every state is the education of its youth in virtue," Diogenes Laertius, vi. 72. Example, Cynics rejected traditional education, viewing it as a tool of societal conformity, instead focusing on cultivating personal ethics and resilience. Relevance. This idea underscores the importance of integrity and moral character over material success. Asceticism, or the rejection of luxury and indulgence, was central to Cynicism. The Cynics practiced autarkia, self-sufficiency, believing that reducing dependence on external conditions leads to freedom. Quote, "It is the privilege of the gods to need nothing, and of godlike men to want but little," Diogenes Laertius, vi. 23. Example, Diogenes lived with only the bare essentials, mocking those who equated happiness with material possessions. Relevance. This approach resonates with the minimalist and anti-consumerist movements in contemporary society. Cynics were known for their fearless truth-telling, parrhesia, often using satire and public acts to expose societal hypocrisy and challenge conventional values. Quote, "Cynicism is the quickest path to virtue, for it teaches us to speak the truth, to be free, and to depend on nothing," Epictetus, Discourses 3:22. Example, Diogenes walked through Athens with a lamp in broad daylight, claiming he was searching for an honest man, mocking societal corruption. Relevance. Parrhesia highlights the value of authenticity and courage in challenging authority and social norms. Cynics dismissed societal conventions as artificial constructs that enslave individuals. They rejected marriage, political participation, and organized religion, advocating for individual freedom. Quote, "The wise man will not marry or procreate, for he has no need of such burdens." Diogenes Laertius, vi.71. Example, Diogenes publicly mocked marriage ceremonies and religious rituals, considering them superfluous. Relevance, this principle critiques societal pressures and promotes individual autonomy, resonating with countercultural and libertarian philosophies. 1. Minimalism and sustainability. Cynicism's emphasis on simplicity and self-sufficiency challenges the excesses of modern consumerism and promotes sustainable living. 2. Authenticity. Parrhesia encourages individuals to speak truthfully and live authentically, fostering integrity and courage in the face of societal pressure. 3. Ethical living. Cynicism's focus on virtue as the only good inspires moral reflection and prioritization of ethical over material pursuits. 4. Resilience. By rejecting dependence on external goods, cynicism offers tools for emotional resilience and contentment in adversity. 1. Radicalism and alienation. Critics argue that cynicism's rejection of social norms and institutions is overly radical and impractical, potentially leading to social isolation. Example, the cynic lifestyle may be seen as incompatible with responsibilities like family or civic engagement. Quote, "Cynicism is a philosophy fit for beggars, not for citizens." Cicero, Do Officii 41. 2. Overemphasis on negation. Cynicism is criticized for focusing too much on rejecting societal norms without offering constructive alternatives. Quote, "Cynics destroy but do not build." Russell, History of Western Philosophy, 1945. 3. Extreme individualism. Cynics' disdain for community and organized society has been critiqued for undermining collective welfare and cooperation. Example, modern critics argue that cynicism's disdain for institutions neglects their role in creating social stability. Cynicism's bold critique of societal norms and its emphasis on living a virtuous, natural life offer timeless lessons on simplicity, resilience, and authenticity. While its radical rejection of social structures and material goods has faced criticism, the philosophy's call for integrity and independence remains relevant in addressing modern challenges like consumerism, inequality, and superficiality. Cynicism invites reflection on what it means to live a free and meaningful life, making it a thought-provoking counterpoint to contemporary values.